Yeah. Okay, I pressed the button. I think we're live now. I'm sure we'll get some comments. So take two, everyone. If you missed what we just said, well, you probably did because we were not live. Jennifer Batten is with me today. So Jennifer, welcome to the channel.
Well,
and
thanks.
Yeah, it was your idea, really. So thank you for kind of inviting me to invite yourself, however it works.
That's what it was, yes.
This is awesome. It's a great opportunity to finally do something together, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking at the comments at the same time. I don't want to make the same mistake again, but I'm pretty sure we're live now.
It does say live. I can see that, yeah.
We are doing a couple different things I like to do. The virtual jam, which was your idea, Jennifer, and then maybe we'll have time for some questions after that. And yes, so we have confirmation we are on. Awesome. So we're doing a virtual jam today, and that is a jam not with Jennifer and myself, but a jam with you guys who are watching this. And the good news is that you do not have to show yourselves. You don't have to stream yourselves either. So it's purely for your benefit who are watching this, and ours too, because it's going to be fun. But we won't hear you. So this is how it will work. And actually, I'm going to pass the talking stick to Jennifer, because it was your idea, Jennifer. So could you tell us a little bit about what a virtual jam is?
Yeah, a virtual jam, because the internet isn't fast enough for us to actually be live together. There's too much of a delay. And a lot of people don't understand that because they'll see all the award shows with all the boxes and the different band members that look like they're playing together, but it's all pre-recorded because the delay would just make it so it's the worst groove you ever heard in your life. And especially drummers would probably jump off a bridge if they did this. And so I started a symposium in August. It's a 4-day thing called Guitar Cloud Symposium. And it's like 24 modules, 4 or 5 teachers. And one of the things I added as an experiment was to do a virtual jam. You know, there's so many people that are locked down and just itching to play, and there's no community, and you're not able to get in bars and all that. So this is the next best thing. And it's kind of cool. It's very safe, because we don't hear you, so there's no judgment, so you can just let it fly. And typically I'll do 4 or 8 bars where I'll play with a track, and then I'll comp for 4 bars and play 4 and comp for 4 bars. Normally, when you're playing 4s with somebody, you're hearing them, so you can play off of the ideas that they just did. So David and I are gonna come off like the most clueless players because we can't hear you, and we're just doing whatever comes to mind. So I hope you enjoy it and get some feedback. We might keep it up. Who knows? Yep,
that sounds great. So I'll take the first one. We'll see how long we go. It's going to loop forever until I decide, all right, we've all had enough. This one is I believe it's an E mixolydian. So if you don't know mixolydian, you can play E minor pentatonic, E minor blues. It's going to be great. And let's just get into the groove. So that's 3rd bar. Here's the 4th. And by the way, guys, if you don't have your guitar, you should grab it because, like Jennifer said, I'm going to play 4, and then I want you to play 4 if you want. Okay, here we go. You know what? I'm using my foot as a controller. I didn't put enough pressure. You guys take it. So if you're home, let's try some pentatonic stuff. This minor blues is gonna work great. It shouldn't, but it does. Don't expect a chord change. There won't be any. So if you're a Mixolydian, let's try to add the sharp 4 maybe. Don't know what it really was. We'll do 2 more and then we're going to talk a little bit. Okay, I'm going to stop because are you looking at the comments, Jennifer?
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that I would love to jam with Jennifer, but the latency thing is just a problem. So the idea is for you to play from your home and hopefully get a good practice out of it. That's kind of the idea.
You know, David, probably when you're playing, if you make yourself full screen.
Oh, that's a good idea.
There,
yes.
It would be a little more comfortable for me.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. No, that's a good point. Yes. Would you like to take one?
A jam, for sure. Yeah.
I'll make you full screen. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Wait. How do I do that? How do I do that? I don't want.
That's
changed. Even more awkward. There's got to be a way. I think.
Can you? Oh, you've done it. There, you've done it. All right, I'm going to get into. You can do a C minor Dorian, or C Mixolydian for this, and combine the two. It's a Marcus Miller debut. One more. I needed to make up for that. One more.
That is good. There's a lot. There was a lot of stuff in there. I wish I would have stopped to ask you stuff, but now I forgot. There's tons of ideas in there that I wanted to ask you about. But
how about the people out there?
Yeah.
You got any questions about anything? The bends. You know what? I'll explain one thing I'm doing, because if you hear bends and you're not seeing my fingers bend and you're not seeing my, well, you can't see the tremolo bar anyway in this angle, I don't think. Let me put this down a little bit more. I have a whammy pedal that I'm using, and I have it set up to bend down a whole step with my foot, so you can see. So that's my secret weapon, and I don't have to go looking for a slide. Come back, David.
There we go. I think that was one of the questions. I was wondering how you did that. Yeah, that's cool.
Digital trickery is what that is. I got into the whammy pedal, and God, I think I was one of the first customers in the early 90s.
Yep.
And I just went bananas with it. I had so much fun, and I ended up working with it to take notes up a whole octave. So, and I was messing around with an A power chord, because in rock and roll there are only 3 chords.
Yeah.
A, E, and A.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
I took one of the spare A's and just started messing with taking it up an octave with my foot, and then I would try to get pinch harmonics and get to the tip of the pick and go. This sounds like a nasty cat outside your window in the summer.
Cat. Yeah, that's awesome.
But almost always I'll set it to go down a whole step, which is kind of cool, because you can get harmonics that you couldn't normally get, like natural harmonics. Now I can take those down. So you can't get a natural C harmonic on the guitar, but if you take a D,
yeah,
voila.
That's awesome.
Bonus.
I do remember seeing an ad in, well, it was Guitar Magazine. It wasn't Guitar Magazine, back in France. And I think, yeah, you had one of those first whammies. That was back, was it in the 90s maybe or something? I don't know when they came out, but cool.
Yeah, they came out in the early 90s, and I did a buttload of clinics around the world for Digitech.
Mm-hmm.
I kept telling them to make a pair of shoes with a whammy built in.
Oh,
be a
man,
little more
yeah.
convenient for me.
Gosh, that would be awesome. There's another, there are a few things, I saw a few comments in there. So the track was it A? I didn't really follow. Whatever you're playing on, kind of like
C.
C, sorry, yeah. You're kind of like playing some choice notes, going outside a little bit and stuff like that. Is that, when you're playing kind of outside of the norm, are you mentally thinking, all right, I'm going to try this scale or whatever it is, or are you just kind of thinking to yourself, I'm going to play something weird and I'm going to have a good rhythm so that I don't sound too off, but I'm just going to go for it. You know what I mean?
Well, I like tension.
I do
don't
too,
like
yeah.
to hang on it a lot, but certainly the flat 5, is always a good choice. Get it? Make sure it's a little bit ugly.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot, and I like to add a sharp 7 over minor sounds, just even though it's not harmonic minor. Well, I like to bend into them too, so if I might see. Just, I think the more you play, the more you get bored with yourself, and just try to stretch and make things a little different and permutate them inside out.
Yeah, totally. There's a question from Bob here. I think you kind of responded, but it's an opportunity for me to try this feature thing. Can you start a lick on any notes? And if the note is outside the scale, feel your way back into key. You kind of answered it. Sure.
I just want to recommend a sharp 7 on a dominant chord, because that's poopy.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, you know what? In the next jam, I'm going to try that.
Okay.
Just so that we could hear what it's about. So, you know, I like it on minor chords, though. I kind of like it in minor, that major 7 thing. Let's try it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is, what is this? Oh, sorry, that's the same exact track we did. Give me a second. Let's see. Let's try something in G minor.
Make yourself full screen. Or I wonder
yeah, that's right.
if I stop my camera, I wonder if it'll just automatically do that. Nope.
There we go. So for those of who just joined me, I'm going to have a loop going on, G minor. I'm going to take 4 bars. If you have your guitar at home, play your 4 bars. And if you don't, well, you're going to be a little bored, but we'll see what happens. So G minor, I play G Dorian. It's my to-go minor scale, and G minor pentatonic. Gotta get into it. The 3rd bar, 4th. I wish I could hear what you're doing. I'm sure it's awesome. Four bars goes pretty fast. Try that major 7 that I was telling you about. I'm out of ideas. Oh, I got so lucky. take one, you take one, and then we'll talk. Okay. Oh, it's hard to. I'll bring you back in. It's so hard. Within four bars, you kind of have to have an idea for the next four. I find it really difficult to this mental kind of like game thing, where you're trying to keep interesting.
It's not sounding like you're struggling at all, mister.
Oh,
it sounds wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I got very lucky several times. I find that I love those like single chord backing tracks. Those are to develop ideas, because you can't rely on something super interesting chord-wise going on. So it kind of forces you to extract all the juice from, the positions or the ideas you have. I like that exercise a lot.
I bet they can get a hold of that backing track too, huh, David?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked, yes. There's a link below. So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, there should be a link there to download those tracks. I also added a link to your Guitar Cloud symposium,
which,
maybe this is a good time to talk about it a little bit. The symposium. I think we may have talked about it when we're not live, so
Okay.
we should try again. What is the symposium?
So forgive me if I'm repeating myself. So, first 2 months of lockdown, I just basically went off in a corner and sucked my thumb. All my tours were gone for the foreseeable future. So, eventually, I kind of got a download from the universe that said, create this virtual community of guitar players around the world. And in August, we launched with Neely Brosh, such a monster player. Gretchen Menn, who's, I didn't realize she'd been playing for 10 years with a Led Zeppelin tribute band.
Wow.
And Vicky Genfan, our acoustic resident tapper, detuned, alter tunings person. And it's just been growing and expanding, and ideas are just popping out. It's a extended weekend. We start on a Friday night and do an orientation and try to get to know who's joining us from around the world. In fact, it was so cool. This last one, we had a woman from Zimbabwe join us.
That's awesome.
Got a guy from Holland. There's a couple from Mexico City and New Zealand. These poor people have to get up. Our classes start at 4 a.m. for them. But it's just this growing community of people. We got a private Facebook page, and once a month I do a Zoom meeting for free, just for the students to get together and chat and get to know each other. So Saturday and Sunday, put on your seatbelt. It is content, content, content. Each of the teachers has 6 subjects that we're passionate about teaching, and I have them put it all in a package of 20-minute chunks. And so over the weekend, we get 24 modules, whether it's slide playing, tapping. I get into the Transcribe app, learning music, brain science. Gretchen comes from a classical background, and she'll break down theory. And it's just so fun for people. It's like a smorgasbord of stuff. And then the Monday, I always say Friday because Friday seems like party day, but
yeah, it
Monday
does, yeah.
is a rap party, and it's about sponsored giveaways. And then I have a special guest. And the first one we did in August, I had Scott Henderson, which was super fun. And then Andy Timmons. And I don't pressure anybody to play, but Andy felt better having a guitar. And to our benefit, it was wonderful. He played 4 or 5 songs. And then last Monday, you joined us for Steve Vai.
It was incredible.
And, that was epic. Just epic. He was there for 2 hours. Which was an amazing gift of his time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about his philosophy, and there was so many goodies that I felt transformed. Everybody felt high for 2 days with the things he was saying. So this is an ongoing thing. It happens every 2 months. The next one is in February. But in the months that we don't do that, I'm doing a thing called a deep dive. And the next deep dive is going to be on Guitar Heroes. And I'm going to do 90 minutes on Jeff Beck, because I got to tour with him for 3 years. And at one point, I learned every solo on the Blow by Blow and Wired records. So I know his style pretty well.
Yeah.
And I was starting to listen to it again. And one thing that you did when you were playing just now reminded me of taking a theme and then just working it. You know, here's the theme. I'm going to put it over here, start on a different note, and do a similar theme. And it's such an effective thing to take the listener along with you, because it's not just something new every time you play.
Yeah.
It takes you on a journey.
Yeah, I've always found that fascinating, where you have a really simple idea, and repeating it in different ways kind of engages the listener, because first you introduce the idea, very simple enough so he remembers it, and each time you play something else, it's almost as the listener is now he knows what it's about, and participating to this like musical exploration. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize this. Like I know what you're talking about. That's awesome. So I left a link in the description to check out this symposium. People is this limited in place, in number of students who can participate? Is there scarcity there? Do they need to get?
Not at this point. It's a very young company. I will say Monday night we had, I think, 65 people. And at this point, where I am the company and I'm the one that has to answer all the emails, that's a good amount.
Yeah.
I think if it got up to 100 or more, it would be like, I would just have to start getting help.
Yeah.
But at this point, we've been able to accommodate everybody, and it's been really great. And one thing I didn't expect this at all, is the alumni keep coming back like every month. I thought, okay, we have our courses set. We all put in a lot of work to get our courses, and maybe they would come back in a year and see what had changed. Nope, they want it every month. So Gretchen's been great. She comes up with new courses pretty much every time, and I'm trying to expand mine and add one or two every time. But it's great for everybody. It's expanding everybody, and the feedback I've been getting from people is just more than I could have hoped for.
That's awesome. Yeah, everyone, check it out. The link's below. Before I forget, there's a question here from Jake for you, Jennifer. What's on your headstock?
Oh, this is a string damper.
Yep.
When I got into tapping in the early 80s, and I deflated the bumblebee, I used a terry cloth sock tied around the first fret. Because when you get all your fingers going, like... It's really hard to control the open strings from ringing out. So I used a sock, and socks can smell kind of funky. You can smell it, I'm stepping in there. And it's hard to get it out of the way in a hurry. So there was a guy that advertised, he was selling a thing called the Clean Axe with a K in Guitar World magazine.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
You remember that? Years ago.
I do.
And so I got those, and I kept making modifications to them, and eventually added piano string damper material, and I was putting a piece of metal out to the side so I could flip it out of the way without damaging the material. Eventually I went to China, and I actually looked at what it would take to get them made in America, and it would cost me $100 a piece to get 1,000 of them made. And I was just out of the question. And so, it's not something like every guitar player wants this thing. So I had a Chinese connection and got them made. So here's why I use it. Here's the difference. If I'm not using it at all, you hear all that rot. And I'm very quiet right now. If I was in a club, it would be way more volume and way more noise. So now the damper's down. And you barely hear anything.
Yeah.
And you can still hear the strings. It's just not going to sustain. But if I want an open string or harmonic, I'll just flip it out of the way and then flip it back.
Yeah. So is this a custom-made thing, or is that who makes those?
Well, you can find them at jenniferbatten.com.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't have that many left, so if anybody's out there, jump on it now. I don't think I'm going to get more made. I just want to keep enough for myself, actually.
Sure, yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, let's jam a little bit more. Did you take the last one, or did I? I can't remember.
You did.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're up.
Okay. This one is basically the groove to Rosanna. And it's kind of another androgynous thing where it could be G Mixolydian or it could be G Dorian. In the beginning of this loop, and it's going to cycle a few times, you can play either one. And so I prefer Mixolydian to minor sounds, so I'm going to do that. But at one point, the organ comes in and goes, gives you that minor third, and it kind of draws you to more of a minor sound. So,
Yeah,
here we
cool.
go. Two, three. There's that minor. The loop, I thought I fixed the loop, but it's jacked up. 1, 2, 3, U. 2, 3. Ah, man. I'm gonna let this go. One more. All right.
That was great. I was kind of messing up with the views there when you were playing.
Ah,
By mistake,
notice.
but hey, that sounded great. That was cool.
gracias.
Lots of good comments on everything here. I have a track that's a little different, actually. I have a major 7 track, so we're gonna get into happy, or well, this was a super groovy happy track, but I don't know what I'm saying. I'll just we'll just roll with it. We're in E major. E major. I think. Yep. Completely out of ideas. I'm sure you guys are not home. Do one more turn. When in doubt, pentatonic, major in here. Okay, you guys finish it. 3, 4. Okay, I wish I had a fade or something. I'm using a pedal here with my foot, and when it stops, it stops. Here, let's do this one right here. It's so much harder than I thought. When you said, "Oh, let's do a virtual jam," and you're going to jam 4 bars and they will jam 4. It's so hard not to feed off the other person that you're not hearing.
Sure.
It's
our new reality
Yes.
for a hot minute. Yeah, it is. The first time I did it, I just wanted to jump off a bridge, but I think you just get used to it and knowing. I mean, it would be so much more fun if we could actually see the people out there.
Yeah.
But we believe that those notes are coming from
Yes.
humans.
Yeah. This is okay. I have a question for you, completely unrelated. But what's that? It looks like a statue in the back, kind of cyberpunky type thing.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. What is that?
This is actually for potted plants, and
Oh,
I
nice.
started a band last summer that was steampunk. And
Oh,
so
man, I love it.
I put the goggles on them, and
Okay.
this is like a tip jar.
Oh, okay.
And you see the gears that are around the blue screen there. That was a banner for the band to have behind us, and so we can't play, so it's on the wall right now. But they're actually picnic table covers from Walmart. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever saw.
It
Like
is.
$25.
You'd never guess. Yeah, I
Right?
remember asking you about that. A few weeks back. That's awesome. Let
You
me
were
see if
doing
there's
some
any.
really cool stuff where Vi does this, where you're playing in one part of the neck and then you jump way to the other part of the neck.
Well,
It-
first of all, it's really strange that you said you did something cool and then mentioned Vi, because no, that doesn't work. But thank you. But I started doing this probably about a year ago. I think the first time I heard that, or what inspired me to do it, is Guthrie Govan.
Ah.
He does that a lot, and I think it's just like you just have to take a leap of faith, because you never know where you're going to land, and eventually it gets better and better as you kind of micro adjust with the pressure of your bend. So you kind of get lucky and luckier, but it's a luck game completely. But thank you.
Well, that's part of the fun. The adventure
is.
of it is going into unknown territory, and at the end of the day, and in fact, this blew my mind. I read, when I was with Jeff Beck, I read did an interview with Guitar Player magazine or something. And I know before shows, I mean, most of us try to get our show heads together. You don't want to be super social and let your energy disperse like that. And he said, he has a certain amount of anxiety before a show because he is so adventurous, and you never know what's going to happen from night to night. And he says a good day is when he finishes a show and realizes that he's still alive. He didn't die from
Oh man, yeah.
the treacherous of what it can be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And how long were you touring with Jeff?
3 years.
3 years.
There
Was
are
it-
frequencies in my ears I will never get back. That was the loudest. Well, not
Really?
the loudest band. It was the loudest band until I played with Uli John Roth.
Yeah,
And that was
right.
just like, oh my God.
I
Wow.
was at one of those shows in Denver. That was,
Oh.
and actually I remember it was awesome, but it was so loud that my friend Frank, who's in the audience here, and I think you texted me, hey, I'm in the green room or something, and with Andy Timmons, you were hanging out with when Uli was doing his set. So yeah, we had to leave because it's so loud,
I remember that now.
and
yeah.
the green room was pretty quiet, so that was nice. But yes.
Yeah, I would be on stage because Andy and I would jam with him at the end of the show, and I'd be on stage next to him looking at people in the front row going, why are you still here? It is,
Yeah.
it's like a death ray of volume.
That is loud, yeah. That is an awesome show, though. That is really diverse, I think, set for, like, each players were so different and so cool. So that is really nice.
Yeah,
When did you have to completely stop, like, the tours and stuff because of COVID? Has it been a year and a half?
Well, I was supposed to. I think I was supposed to go to the Frankfurt show. That's the first thing that was canceled.
Okay.
So that's in March.
Okay, yeah.
And I've had 4 whole gigs this year. 2 of them were outdoor wineries, and the other ones claimed to be safe, and they were not. So
Yeah.
I'm not in a hurry to get out there again.
Yeah. I've always been wanted to ask you, you're probably tired of hearing those Michael Jackson stories, but prior to the Michael gig, were you working at MI? Was that what you were doing?
Yeah, I got the gig in 1987. September,
Okay.
I think, is when we took off. And I had moved back to LA from San Diego in 1984. So 3 years, I mean, I was working as a security guard from midnight to 8 and teaching in the afternoon, and I was so burnt out. And I was teaching 7 days a week. So that gig was a paid vacation. Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah.
I was making like 10 times the money I was making working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And And I was a fan of his music anyway, so what's not to love? What a great way to see the world.
How did that happen? Was it like an open audition for people that were on his list, or like how does that work?
A lot of those gigs are friends of friends of friends of friends.
Okay.
You know, but for me, he had a guy that called Musicians Institute, and they had a referral service. So they sent a couple people, and I was one of the lucky people that got the call, that even heard about it. But he auditioned like 100 people. So
Wow.
I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't tell anybody I had auditioned. And even when I got a call back to come, the message was, Michael's interested, come down and play with the band and see how it goes. And I didn't meet Michael for a month. It was just a matter of hanging out with the band, you know, seeing if... You don't know with a stranger if they're, oh, I got it made, and then they don't do the work or whatever. And actually, I never got confirmation that I had the gig. I got a passport, I got a ticket to Tokyo, and I thought, well, this is looking good. And Sheryl Crow was on that gig too, and we were both like the insecure twins together. It's like, is this going well? And it wasn't until our first place that we went to was Japan. And at one point, Michael shut down the Tokyo Disneyland so we could hang out without the public.
Yeah.
Like who but Elvis could pull that off.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And Cheryl and I were in a toy store on the property, and I was looking at this Daisy Duck toothbrush holder that was the baddest ever. You would take the head and push it down, and the eyes would go back and forth for as long as you were supposed to brush your teeth. So of course I bought it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Who wouldn't?
And Michael came up to behind me, and I didn't know he was even in the building, and tapped me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Oh, I like how you're playing the Beat It solo." And I'm just thinking, job security. I mean, that was the first real positive feedback I had gotten.
Yeah.
I was like,
man, that's so cool.
He's no shit.
Were you supposed to be involved in the This Is It tour? Maybe you're not supposed to say. I don't know, but
I let someone know that I was interested. But he was going for younger people at that point. You know, he got Orianthi. All the dancers were in their 20s. Yeah. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't get called, because if I had, I would have spent a whole bunch of money on new gear, and then the whole thing imploded.
Yeah.
So, yeesh.
Gosh, yeah. So I think the two things that people know you the most for are the Michael Jackson and Jeff Beck. And between the Jackson gigs and the Jeff Beck, was there a long period of time, or were they simultaneous, or?
Kind of funny. That's kind of in the vortex of my gray matter. I want to say within 6 months after the history tour had ended, I joined Michael. It might have been longer, but I remember at that point I was so burnt on travel.
Yeah.
When Jeff called me, I was going, man, I was just thinking of getting out of the music business. And he goes, well, can you wait?
Wow, yeah.
And then he threatened to have me play banjo. It was so fun. He's a comedian, and all of his friends are comedians. So, man, I mean, it was a party every night. I mean, to get to play with him, for starters, and being such a huge fan since I was a teenager, and memorizing his albums, and then getting to hang out on the bus, and there was 2 bottles of champagne waiting for us after every show. So what's not to love?
Yeah, man, that's so cool. That's awesome. I'm looking through the comments a little bit here. There's a lot of nice things going on. So,
you know, somebody asked about my strings, and they are very light. Well, when I was with Jeff, a majority of what I was doing was triggering guitar synthesizer.
Yeah.
And this was 20 years ago when guitar synth was kind of crap. And thankfully, I didn't do much of soloing because of the latency. It was bad. So, anyway, long story short, I started using really heavy strings, because if your strings are not flapping around, it's going to be a lot easier for the hex pickup to translate analog to digital.
Right.
When it's not going, oh, is this E or E flat? So I think I went from, like 10 down to 50 really heavy strings.
Yeah, that's heavy, yeah.
It made the synth more stable, but then I started having trouble with my hands. So then for many years I did I was going I did a Slinky Top 9/11/16 standard, and then 28, 38, 48. So it was a custom gauge for many years. And then I started having more trouble with my hands, and I'm using 8s now.
Oh,
8,
wow.
8 to
Okay.
46.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a hybrid, like extra super slinky, and then
Yep.
to 46. And it allows me to do, a lot more subtle moves, like not necessarily half-step bends, but whoops, the whammy pedal has no volume without the volume pedal. And it allows me to be a little more expressive. And I like to do micro bends a lot. And it doesn't tax my hands, so
Yeah,
I dig it.
that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I think the micro band really does give an interesting Jennifer Batten touch to stuff. Kind of Middle Eastern-y, and it's very expressive. It's awesome. That's cool.
Well, one of the things that really knocked me out, I mean, I learned a lot hanging with Jeff, and it wasn't like we were guitar nerds, like how do you play that and where do you put your finger there. That was very rare. But just listening to what he listened to, which could be anything from Ornette Coleman to the Spice Girls in a single day.
Wow,
You
yeah.
know, he would
eclectic.
glean something from every track, whether it was the EQ on the snare or something special that I wouldn't pick up. And one of the things he did, in fact, I made him a bunch of loops for the song Nadia.
Yeah.
All those little bends. And that really affected me. That song kicked my ass for the longest time, but I play it a lot now.
There's a question about the MIDI stuff. I know the answer, but here it is. What synth do you use these days? Like MIDI guitar synth stuff?
Yeah, what an oversight. Being as Fishman is one of the sponsors of Guitar Cloud Symposium. Not only do I use Fishman Fluence pickups with the Modern in the bridge and the Strat series in the other two spots, but I bought a Fishman wireless, triple play wireless MIDI system.
They're awesome.
Yeah, I have the bracket on my guitar, but I don't have it installed right now. But all it is a plastic controller that's real easy to install on any guitar, and a wireless USB dongle, and the laptop is the sounds. When I was with Jeff, I had an entire rack that he had to pay for to take it around the world with physical modules, Roland JV1080s. I had 3 of those, and programming was a nightmare. Now, Fishman has it set up so a lot of their stock sounds are just amazing. You don't have to do anything to them. But with this technology, you can access just about any sound that a keyboard player can get. And that's a lot of power, especially if you're a songwriter. That you can literally split the neck into 4 zones. So you can have bass, say, bottom 3 strings up to the 7th fret, drums on the top strings, and then 2 different synth sounds. And it's just a matter of, in the interface, pulling the color. I pull green over red, and boom, that sound is there.
Yeah, I was shocked when I got mine at how well it worked, because I was expecting something kind of glitchy and buggy, honestly, and it's especially being wireless. Even in wireless mode, it's incredible. So,
yeah, if anybody wants to check out how fast it can track, one thing I could not do 20 years ago was solo with bass, because of the octave it's in. The latency was horrible. So one of my demos that's out there with American Musical is doing Jocko's Teen Town. This is like a solo, and I do it with a fretless bass sound. So I think that's the best demo ever to say, hey, it has arrived.
Yeah, it's incredible. I recommend it too. Do you have another track?
Sure. This is from a song of mine called Elephant Stomp on the Momentum record. And I'm really into intervallic playing, where normally when you play, you do seconds and thirds. That's all seconds and thirds. But if you make it wider skips, like fourths or fifths, I love that sound. And when I went to the Guitar Institute of Technology, which was only guitar before it turned into Musicians Institute, I fell in love with Joe Diorio's playing. And he's got a book called 21st, well, now they dumbed down the title because it was way too long. It's called, I think, Modern Intervallic Designs, that you can get on Amazon. And he'll be doing riffs like just these athletic groups of fifths. He's got one that I I very rarely play it because it's just a beast, but the whole concept is taking a chromatic scale and displacing certain notes an octave down. So instead of
oh man, yeah. That's nuts. Yeah.
I mean, I challenge anybody out there to take a riff that you play all the time and take one or two notes down an octave, and it's like it'll open up your brain. Anyway, Elephant Stomp is something I wrote around that era, and the chords are fourth chords. It's a drone. It's going to be a D Dorian. So I got keep that open D string. I got D, G, C. Very modal.
I love those little chord bends there. It's cool.
That's my eights.
It's awesome. All right, let's hear it.
I think I'll be trading fours with this one. I didn't make a note. Yeah, let's see how it feels. You now. drummer finish his fill.
That was awesome. That last thing, I'm gonna have to rewatch the stream. The last phrase he did, which you probably don't remember, but he did something really. You started in and then out, and it was like it was really good. I have to rewatch it, and I can't remember what he did, but I loved it.
One thing I do remember that I did is like the only time that Jeff and I were ever nerdy, he showed me how to get a harmonica-like vibrato with tremolo bar.
Okay.
He said normally if you do a finger vibrato, your note goes at pitch, sharp, back to pitch, sharp, back to pitch. If you have a tremolo bar, you can get it more rounded, where you go sharp, back to pitch, flat, back to pitch. Now, when a harmonica player does vibrato, he sucks in air and makes it go flat. So it's the exact opposite of a normal finger guitar vibrato. So.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So, of course, whenever I learn anything like that, I abuse the living snot out of it and play it and everything until it evens out.
That was, can you repeat that? I don't want to miss it. That was
Sure.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking D Dorian or D minor pentatonic. I'm taking the A and I'm bending it flat to the A flat.
Okay.
And just keeping the bar depressed a little bit. So you
Yeah.
can get the bar up here.
Okay, yeah. I don't have a bar on this one. I can't try it, but yeah, that's awesome. That's so good. Another thing that I noticed that a lot more since the COVID stuff, since seeing you jam like kind of like more free form, not album recorded, but when you're like improvising, which I've seen you do a lot more these days. You have this really cool like laid back rhythm flow. It's not da 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 da. It's I don't know if it's behind. I think it's behind the beat. You might not be aware of it, but it's like it's awesome. You know what I mean? Very.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
Oh, it is. It is. It absolutely is.
I honestly, when I was in 5 bands before I got in the Jackson band. You know, the original bands in Hollywood doing playing once or twice a month, and a huge variety of stuff from stuff like Chili Peppers to Bruce Springsteen kind of stuff. I had my own fusion band, and all of a sudden I'm playing with some of the best players in the world. You know, like Ricky Lawson played with Whitney Houston. Greg Phillinganes is probably on every album you own. He started with Stevie Wonder when he was about 17. And a funny thing happened, playing with musicians of that level for a year and a half. I went back after the tour was over and played with some bands I had played with before. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, how come you guys suck now? You know, because my level day by day, or my groove had gotten better.
Yeah.
Just because that's what happens when you play with players that are better than you. Pat Metheny said the same thing. He said the best thing you can do as a guitar player is to get in a band with players that are better than you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was definitely a compliment. That's a really good thing. I think it's it requires confidence, and it's this kind of thing. Like if you have a track that's your tempo, and I can't do it very well, so I'm gonna suck at it. But you know, instead of being really in, what key are we in? Okay, D minor. See, that's very, very in, right? But you were more like, you know, if you had to transcribe that, sorry, it would be really difficult, but I don't know, it adds this human element. Anyways, I love it. It's great. Really love what you're doing.
You want to know difficulty in transcribing? I wrote out all the solos in Van Halen's 1984.
That's right,
It looks like fly shit. I mean, that boy had such an advanced sense of time that he could do flurries of 9 or 13 notes. And sometimes you'd be on edge listening, and and he could always land on the one because he was feeling it.
Yeah.
It's, oh my God. That's why some of his stuff, like the Hot for Teacher solo, at one point I could play it, but I didn't understand it. You know, so if I got lost, I'd be really lost.
Yeah, transcribing that stuff would be so, and you're really big on transcribing, I know that. So that's, gosh. Were you close to Eddie? Did you know him personally? Or? Okay.
No, I met him a couple times.
Okay.
And I used to have recurring dreams that I would meet him and was talking to him, like I was at the house with Valerie and him. And it's funny when somebody is in your consciousness or some music is in your consciousness, it's there at such a deep level that you don't even realize it until you dream. And the same thing happened when I was a teenager. I used to jam along with blues records, and I'd have a recurring dream for years that I would meet B.B. King. And it just the strangest thing.
Have you met him?
No, I never got to meet him, but we were on the same show with Jeff Beck, and I asked one of his people if I could meet him, and I was access denied. So there's that.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you must have so many memories. I'm looking at the comments, looking for questions. People are so engaged in the comments. It's difficult to manage everything, but I appreciate everyone watching this. Are you able to, you can see the comments, right, on your end?
Yeah.
Okay. You can't pin a comment to make it appear. I think I'm the only one who could do that. Probably.
Good. One less thing to worry about.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so I kind of feel bad. If you think that I'm not really paying attention to what you're saying, I kind of am, but I'm also trying to manage this whole thing.
Somebody's asking about the Fishman pickup with the Spectrasonic. I don't have that. I would just say Google it. I think so. It sounds really familiar, like I have seen somebody demoing it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep. I see it. Okay. Cool. Maybe I'll take one more, and then we'll see if there's Q&As, if there's any questions.
No, I have not seen Buckethead without the mask.
I think the secret's been out a little bit, but I don't know if I should trust it or not. What's his name? Is it, I can't remember.
Brian Carroll.
Yeah.
Is his name.
Yep. Okay, let's try something different. Let's try something that's going to be really embarrassing, which is not really different from anything I've been doing. So.
Shush,
Okay.
you are such a great player, David.
No,
you have an awesome
you.
tone. I want your guitar. You need to send that
thank
to
you.
me right now.
Thank you. Okay, let's try. So again, a single chord. For those of you who just joined, you can download all that stuff in the description. And also, make sure you check out Jennifer's Guitar Cloud Symposium. The link is below too. We'll try something in a D minor major 7. It's kind of an interesting chord. And for that, I'm not really going to think in terms of scales. I'll just think of the notes of the chord, and we'll see what happens. And we will try this view, and we'll see what happens. So D minor. Got my root, my minor 3rd, 5th, and then a major 7. That's what makes it a little interesting. It's your turn. Here's the 4th bar. If you're lost, just think minor pentatonic, and I'll give you a few more bars as I'm talking. Try minor pentatonic, and then that minor 7th there. Oh, sorry, D. Just raise it a half step up. So give that a try. Your blues licks are going to work with that major 7. I'll give you 4 more bars. 2 more, sorry. Yeah, 4. There we go. One of my favorite things to do is do random stuff, but with good rhythm. So random notes, random shapes, I'll try that. So I'm not thinking notes, I'm thinking like taka taka da, taka 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 taka, something like that. Not great. Forget what I said. Minor pentatonic works, it's a little off, but the backing track is off. I wonder if diminished would work. I can't bend higher. I want to reach that note. We'll do one more each. 3, 4. Okay, real quick, Jeff is asking me to play Phrygian. Okay. It's gonna clash a little bit, but we'll see. Yes. We'll finish this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. Okay. That was a little awkward.
I love that groove.
Yeah, it's. I'll send it to you. It's kind of a fun thing with that major seventh. It's so tensed.
It's super stereophonic now that we have our loopback app.
Yeah, we've.
Y'all out there that are anybody that's doing lessons online, you can click stereo on Zoom, but it's not stereo. You have to get an app called Loopback.
Yeah, we've tried a bunch of things. I'm glad. I think it's working now. We'll have to re-listen, but I think.
Well,
we'll see.
There's that.
Everyone here, if you have any questions for Jennifer or I would love to help. And William, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. So any questions for Jennifer, myself on anything? Could be guitar, could be
Hairspray.
hairspray, anything. And I will make sure that I monitor everything going on here. All right, this is a question from Tamara. I think that one appeared when you were playing, Jennifer. Do you have a favorite interval you like to start on when you improvise? For instance, I tend to migrate to the fifth from the root in a minor jam. Thank you.
Yeah, I think fourths and fifths for intervallic playing are my favorite, but like I like sixes too. I like to take all of the scale fingerings and play every interval in them. I don't play it that often, but I like to do sevens too. Like I'll be in D minor. It's just kind of an odd thing. And I'll use hybrid picking where I'll pick and then use my finger for the top note. It's just kind of a different sound.
Yeah, it does sound cool. There's so much you could do with those intervals.
I think that's the first time I've ever been asked what my favorite interval is.
Good question, Tamara. Thank you.
They're all the same, my kids.
Yeah, yeah. Here's a question from Frank. Which is more important, or the more important thing, or the more dominant thing in your thought process? The note you land on, or the notes you use to get there? Maybe I'll take that one, and I'd love to, if you want to interject, that's great. But I feel that it's a little bit of both, and it depends on. Okay. When I have to play over a track, like let's just say we're improvisation mode. We're not recording an album. We're just improv like we're doing here. I feel that there's like a give and take between me being engaged mentally with what's going on and being aware of the notes that I'm playing. And when I say aware, I don't mean necessarily that I think in terms of, oh, here's the fourth, here's the fifth, but aware of the sound that I'm going for, the pitch. But when I do that, it's pretty draining mentally. And I have to switch back at some points, after, if I have to play like 3 minutes, after 30 seconds, I have to switch back to kind of the automatic playing, like all the scale patterns and sequences that I can do with my eyes closed, which kind of give my mind a chance to kind of recharge and go back to I'm focused on, very engaged on what I'm saying, more melodic stuff. So when I read your question, Frank, I see two things. I see it's both. And when I'm thinking about the notes I'm landing on, I'm a lot more engaged mentally. Technically, it's pretty easy to do, like, things like more slow, but I know what's going to happen. I know the notes that is going to be heard, and I can almost sing it. But because it's so demanding, then I will switch back to the other type of thought process, which is more of the notes you use to get there, and that's more the... Mentally, this is very easy to do. But I can recharge my mind to go back to a more focusing on the notes that I want to target. So Frank, that was probably not the answer at all that you were hoping for, but that's what you get.
That hurt my brain.
Yeah, me too, actually. So Frank, great question, bad answer. Thank you.
You know what? Along those lines, one of the best lessons I ever discovered, I got way back in the cassette days, there was a series called Hot Licks, and I got one on Steve Morse. And it wasn't anything in the chorus or anything that was written down, but there was a jam that he did in the beginning. And that's the first time I realized that every single time he would do like a first or third phrase, he would land on anything but the root. And then always the second and fourth. I'm not trying to sound like Steve here. And then always land on the root the second time around. So it always sounded like question, answer, question, answer. Mm-hmm. And that really took my phrasing to another level.
Yeah, that conversation that you're having with yourself kind of that's awesome. That's good. Here's another one for you, Jen. It's from Jim. Are you playing through a Positive Grid Spark amp right now?
Indeed. Yep. They're the presenting sponsor of Guitar Cloud Symposium. The Spark, it's just flying off the shelf. It's next level smart technology, where you can program it with your phone with Bluetooth or play tunes into it. You can connect to YouTube and jam with stuff that way.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
You're controlling it with an app or with a computer. It's all Bluetooth stuff. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, you can just plug in and go with the sounds that are in it, but you can also download sounds from the guitar community, people that are creating sounds. Like, here's my best Van Halen sound. You can test it. If you like it, download it, and it's yours.
That's awesome. Kenneth, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. James has a question for you. How old were you when you started playing guitar?
I was 8 years old, and my sister had a guitar and I didn't, and that pissed me off. So every once in a while, jealousy is the motivation that gets me to do stuff.
I have a similar story with my brother, who's now a bass player, but he was able to do like some, I think the G chord or something, and it's like, oh, no, my career is over. He could play a G chord, open G. And then I wanted to beat him. And so, yeah, that is a good motivation. What is the hardest thing you've ever played? So this is probably for both of us. I have to think about that one. But if you know your answer, go for it.
Well, Flight of the Bumblebee is no picnic.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of it earlier, but I don't traumatize myself with trying to do the whole thing anymore. Giant Steps, I worked out a solo for Giant Steps that I put it on. It's on my YouTube channel. I did it recently, but I recorded it more than 20 years ago, and I lost speed. It's all tapping, and I actually had to put it in transcribe and take it down to like 85% to be able to play it this time. So that's a butt kicker.
That's so many changes, and just I've never learned it, but I'm guessing that the fingering of the pattern is not necessarily what you would use as your to-go, licks and stuff because of all the changes. So. Yeah.
Well, I will say that was worked out, and I took the changes and stretched them out to twice as long.
Nice.
Because I can.
Yeah, it's a hard song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm embarrassed to say, but I've never really, let's see. I've never struggled with anything. No, that's not No, I'm lazy. Like I would love to be a really good technical player, but I just struggle learning stuff, and I never finish something. I would start something, and except for this was a few years ago actually. This was a Paul Gilbert song, and I wanted to develop my alternate picking, and I learned it's on the channel somewhere, but a Paul Gilbert song, and that was probably the most challenging thing. For me, but I can't remember the name of the song. But anyways.
I wouldn't say somebody that uploads 3 lessons a week for 10 years as lazy.
Well.
I would call that the most disciplined person I've ever known in my life.
Or the most stubborn person, in your life. There's some of that too. But thank you. All right, let's see if there's any last questions, and let's everyone go, because it's been an hour and a half. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a neat thing, a new virtual community during lockdown. That'll probably continue. That's one of the things Steve Vai said. He's on the cover of the new Guitar Player magazine, and he said because of lockdown and because we've been locked down so long, he thinks there's going to be a whole new side to music that evolves out of it. And I think virtual is it. You know, especially when the speed is enough that we can jam online. Oh, forget about it. It's going to be a whole new world.
Oh man, yeah. And we were talking about Steve earlier, who was on your symposium party. One thing that COVID has kind of done, or the lockdown, is all those people that I grew up listening to, you included, but Vi and all those guys, reading magazines, and in my mind it was like, these guys are heroes. You are heroes, but there was like this big barrier in my mind, like, oh, like I'm never gonna have a conversation with Steve or Jennifer like that, And I feel that the lockdown has really brought in the human in some way, the human aspect of the artist. So we were talking about Steve, and ever since he's been doing his live stuff, he had this series on Facebook, and then talking to him the other day, there's another aspect of Steve that I would not have really seen reading magazines that came out, and it's not just about guitar. Like you see this whole other aspect of the person, like the Steve philosophy on life. It's really interesting to discover those things, and me looking at his live stream or other people. It's like, wow, these guys are. I knew they were cool, but they're really cool because there's this whole aspect that you get to discover, I think, with this. So I agree. There's another aspect of music that is probably going to emerge from all this.
Even the beginning of the internet, really, once you could email people, in the olden days, it's like people that are on records, you almost never get contact with them.
Yeah.
Then they started doing the VIP thing, and you could pay $500 to hang out for 10 minutes. Some of that goes on. But, how people ask me how I get my gigs. I look at email. I get a request to go to Spain, and that's my work.
Yeah.
And being able to contact so many people, like contacting Steve, I kind of had an idea that he would show up. I've met him many times, so I kind of had an idea of his personality, and he wouldn't take money. He's a giver, honestly. He's very much a giver. So connecting with the students and being able to give that kind of energy. I mean, everybody felt high for 2 days after. It was the most amazing thing ever.
Right, yeah. Here's the last question, maybe. We'll take this one. How did COVID-19 change your reflection about what music means for you and what its role should be within communities beyond the technical and melodic side? I think, for me, I've always felt almost a spiritual relationship to music. Whether when I started, whether I ever would be able to play in front of people or not, music has always been kind of the background of my mind, of my life. And I don't know that it changed much. It changed the job in a way, but my perception of music, I don't know if it really changed. I'll listen to it more nowadays, actually, more than I did before. What about you?
I think because I started the Guitar Cloud Symposium, which was because of COVID and not being able to travel, it's just given me another realization of how musicians need community. And we need to share. It's one thing to play a song in your bedroom, and it feels good to jam and get to new places without the pressure of an audience, but being able to share with people is something that we really need. And starting the symposium up and being able to reach people in Zimbabwe, for Christ's sake. It's just made the world so much smaller. But as far as music, it's just, number one, it's my psychiatrist. I can be feeling crap and jam for an hour, and it changes your brain chemistry. It just does. It's almost like medicine.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thanks so much for your time, Jennifer.
Oh, it was a blast,
awesome.
David. Thanks.
We should do it again. And everyone for showing up. Thank you on Facebook and YouTube. Check out Jennifer's Guitar Cloud Symposium. The link is below. And if you guys want to have like a deep dive, which is one of the next deep dive, when does it start? I'm sorry, when does it start?
January 16th, we're doing a deep dive into guitar heroes. Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, Joni Mitchell, and Van Halen, duh.
Oh, nice.
Jude Gold.
Yeah, yes.
Jude Gold, who is the Los Angeles editor for Guitar Player magazine. He's also the guitar player for Jefferson Starship. He does host one of the greatest podcasts out there. Well, I say the greatest, absolutely.
It's awesome.
No Guitar is Safe. And he was also in a Van Halen cover band, so he's the cat to be able to tear it apart and show people how to get the sound.
Yeah, guys, check it out. It's a really safe, fun community where you'll get to know other musicians, and Jennifer and many other instructors are gonna teach you all that stuff. It's pretty awesome. Thanks again, Jennifer.
Okay, cheers.
Everyone, see you soon.